Chelsea will be one of the most talked about teams this season, with club legend Frank Lampard returning to the club as manager. But he will have no easy task as Chelsea have been hit by a transfer ban, meaning no new players will be signed for him this season, which also means that the departure of Eden Hazard cannot be filled by a new recruit. But could this be what Chelsea needed? A young and exciting coach with the wealth of the Chelsea loan army at his disposal? And is this the opportunity that the loan army has been waiting for? It'll be interesting to see just which fringe players step up. So here is my strongest Chelsea 11 for the 2019-20 season. I thought of using a 4-2-3-1 or even a 4-4-2 formation, but I am going with the formation that Lampard predominantly used with Derby County last season, which was a 4-3-3. Okay, for goalkeeper, we have Kepa Arrizabalaga. The world's most expensive keeper was brought in last season after the previous number one at Chelsea, Thibaut Courtois, forced a move through to Real Madrid, leaving Chelsea in a bit of a situation. So they paid the required €80 million release clause, and one season on, it appears to be a good buy. The 24-year-old Spaniard has been pretty successful and consistent with solid performances across the campaign, and apart from that one sketchy moment in the Carabao Cup final with the refusing to come off, the Chelsea fans are pretty happy and satisfied with Kepa. And with Kepa's only competition in the goalkeeping position being Willy Caballero, he's pretty safe to be the starting goalkeeper in this 11. Okay, on to left back, and it is Cesar Azpilicueta, who was actually the right back the season before. And although Chelsea have Marcos Alonso and Emerson Palmieri to play in that position, I have picked the Spaniard as I have someone else in mind for the right back position. And as Cesar is one of Chelsea's most consistently good players across his whole career at Chelsea. And he can play across the whole back line, left back, centre back, even was deployed as a wing back when Conte was there. Easily walks into the starting lineup. Now for the first of the centre backs, and it's actually someone from the loan army, it's Kurt Zouma. The French defender joined in 2015 and was always a favourite for Chelsea fans, and deservedly so, as he demonstrated great defending capabilities. But after being struck by injury, he lost his place in the team and was shipped out on loan for 2 consecutive seasons. First with Stoke in 2017-18 season, and then with Everton for the previous season in 2018-19. But now Kurt Happy Zouma is back, he's fit, and I believe that he has found his way back into the starting 11 for Chelsea, which is really great to see. And in the right centre-back position, we have Antonio Rudiger. Now, Rudiger had a mixed season in his debut campaign under Antonio Conte, not really convincing as a starting centre-back, but last season under Sarri seemed to awaken Rudiger, and he was one of Chelsea's most consistent performers. He takes his place in the starting 11 ahead of David Luiz and Andreas Christensen, and I feel like Christensen may be a bit hard done by because he's definitely a talented player, but for the strongest 11, I'm keeping him out of there and putting Zouma and Rudiger as the starting centre-backs. And now for the right back, and it's another of the loan army. This time it is a very new face in the 11, it is Reece James. And the Chelsea defender had a successful campaign in the Championship, and he was named in their team of the season there, after spending a year with Wigan Athletic, which he was also their player of the year. The young English defender was deployed as a right back, centre back, and even a CDM. And I backed the kid to get a start in a very strong Chelsea 11. Moving on to midfield now, and on the left side of centre midfield, we have Ruben Loftus-Cheek. And the Englishman finally broke his way through into the 11, despite starting the 18-19 season as third choice behind Mateo Kovacic and Ross Barkley for the same position. But after his breakout campaign with Crystal Palace in the 17-18 season, Loftus-Cheek backed it up by forcing his way through into the first team, much to the delight of many Chelsea fans. Loftus-Cheek looks to be a powerful midfielder for years to come, and his quality was not ignored as he was called up to the English national team. This season will see Loftus-Cheek be a starter ahead of Ross Barkley and possibly Mason Mount, unless he is sent out on loan again, which I don't think is a bad idea, because I don't see Mason Mount making the same push for a starting position as Loftus-Cheek did last season. Alright, now on to the CDM role, and one that many Premier League fans in general will be happy with is N'Golo Kante. Possibly the most loved footballer on the planet, and taking this starting CDM spot is N'Golo Kante. After winning the miracle title with Leicester City in 2015-16, Kante moved to Chelsea the very next season to win yet another title and establish himself as one of the world's best defensive midfielders. Last season under Sarri, the CDM role was replaced by a deep-lying playmaker's role, which Jorginho occupied. So Kante had to move out a little wider onto the right side of centre midfield, which upset some Chelsea fans and even Premier League fans and commentators. They just weren't happy with it. But, you know, he was still, despite the change, Kante was still one of Chelsea's top performers, of course. He's such a professional and such a great talent. The move out a little wider even brought his best numbers. He scored 4 goals last season, which seemed crazy. Kante is under no threat for his position, and I'd say he's an easy start in this 11. Now onto the right side of centre midfield, and it is Mateo Kovacic. After initially joining on loan last season, Chelsea have finally decided to fully purchase Mateo Kovacic from Real Madrid after a relatively successful first year in the English top flight. The Croatian midfielder, like Jorginho, didn't have very flattering numbers in terms of goals and assists, but his work on the ball was exceptional, and it is why he was such an ever-present in Chelsea's team last season. Kovacic has deservedly earned his transfer, and he also earns a place in the strongest Chelsea 11 for the 2019-20 season. Now we're finally moving on to the exciting part, and it is, of course, the attackers. And for the left wing, we have Callum Hudson-Odoi. And, you know, this is a very new look front three, and it looks very exciting. The 18-year-old was hugely impressive in last season's pre-season tournament, which really convinced Chelsea fans to, you know, basically plead with Sarri to include him in the first team. But Hudson-Odoi was mainly used as a second, even third choice winger, getting most of his playing time in the cup competitions. Despite his limited minutes, his talent was clear to see, which prompted Bayern Munich to put in a bid during the January transfer window, but it was rejected immediately by Chelsea. Hudson-Odoi amazingly made his England debut before his league debut, and that was on March 25th, where he was part of a 5-1 thrashing of Montenegro. But then Hudson-Odoi did finally get his Premier League debut, which was on the 3rd of April, and it was part of a 3-0 win over Brighton, where he actually assisted a Giroud goal, so a very good debut for him. In a post-Hazard era for Chelsea, they need a new hero, and many believe that it is the academy graduate who will fill those boots. Hudson-Odoi will unfortunately miss the start of his season due to injury, but I have no doubt that when he is back to full fitness, he is easily going to walk into the starting 11. He is such a super talent. Alright, now onto the other side of the wingers, and for the right wing we have Christian Pulisic. And it's another new face for the 11, and he's a member of the Lone Army, kind of. He was bought in January, but then sent immediately back on loan to Dortmund to finish the season there. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the title over Bayern. But another exciting young winger, the American impressed many with his performances in Germany. His transfer in January pretty much seemed to confirm that Hazard would be leaving come season's end, and if he is the replacement, if anyone's going to be the replacement for Hazard, it looks like he's going to be it for this season. Pulisic has quality competition for his position from both Pedro and Willian, but I think Pulisic just gets the start ahead of those two wingers. Now finally, for the big role, it's Michy Batshuayi, and this one was a pretty tough one to choose because Chelsea had a bunch of striking options, but no one was really clear cut. But I've gone with Michy Batshuayi because I feel like he never really got his chance to start as the big man up top, and now it looks like this is finally his time. Obviously, we have Giroud there. We got Tammy Abraham coming off a fantastic year in the Championship. But I just think Batshuayi has a little bit more on top of them. Giroud, he wants to start. He probably deserves to start after, obviously grabbing the Golden Boot in the Europa League and linking up so well with Hazard last season. But he's just not going to be a starter. Not in the Premier League. If he wants to start, unfortunately, he has to leave, possibly back to France or somewhere, but he's just never going to be the number one striker at the Premier League level. Tammy Abraham, another good option. Obviously he had a great year with Aston Villa, got them promoted. But his numbers in the Championship are amazing, and his numbers show that he also had a fantastic year at Bristol, and then he got sent out on loan to a Premier League club in Swansea, but managed only five goals, I believe, or 8 goals, something like that. It was quite low. But now, when he went back to the Championship, his numbers smash up again. So I'm not sure if he's, Premier League level yet, or if he's still Championship level. So maybe loaning him back to Aston in the Premier League wouldn't be a bad idea for him. But I'm pretty sure he said he wanted to stay and fight for his place, so I believe that Batshuayi will be first choice and Abraham will be second choice. Batshuayi has not really exploded out of the gates, but it's clear to see his talent. That short loan spell he had at Dortmund really he was boosted alive. He's not constantly starting, but he is definitely one of the starters for the Belgian national team, behind Lukaku just by a bit. But I'm choosing Michy Batshuayi for the starting striker's position, and I think that he would definitely shine under the new manager of Frank Lampard. Alright, and so that's it. That is the strongest Chelsea 11 for the 2019-20 season, in my opinion. I'm, probably wrong. This is probably not even going to be this formation, but this is what I've gone for. This is what I believe. If everyone is fit, this is what would be fielded. Obviously, at the start of the season, Hudson-Odoi, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Rudiger, I also think will miss out due to injury at the start. But if all these boys are fit, I think this is definitely a very good-looking starting 11 for Chelsea. Especially since Hazard's gone. I think this is as good as it's going to get. So, hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. I know it was a bit of a lengthy one, a bit of a ranty. Not really ranty, but it's dragged on a bit. But thank you for listening. And cheers. Ciao.